The station hung in space like a giant flower made of metal and glass. Harmony Prime was its name, and it was the one place in the galaxy where every species could meet without fear. The station belonged to no one and everyone at the same time. Its white walls gleamed under the light of 3 nearby stars, and ships from 100 different worlds docked at its many ports. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the window of his quarters, looking out at the stars. He was 34 years, old, tall, and lean, with short dark hair that was starting to show gray at the temples. His uniform was crisp and clean, dark blue with silver insignia on the shoulders. He had been in the space service for 12 years now, and his face showed the wear of those years. There were lines around his eyes from squinting at computer screens and staring into the void of space. There was a scar on his left cheek from a piece of shrapnel during the colony wars on Mars. Behind him, Lisa Carter was reviewing documents on her tablet. She was his diplomatic advisor, a woman in her late 20s with red hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore civilian clothes, a gray suit that looked formal but comfortable. Lisa had worked in the Foreign Service for 6 years before joining the space program. She knew how to talk to people, how to find common ground, how to smooth over problems before they became disasters. The Viridian delegation arrived an hour ago, Lisa said without looking up from her tablet. Queen Lyrazeth herself is here. That's unusual. Most rulers send ambassadors to these kinds of meetings. Jake turned away from the window. What do we know about her? She's young, 26 years old. She became queen 4 years ago when her mother died in some kind of accident. The reports are vague about the details. Since then, she's been trying to prove herself to the other empires. Some say she's too aggressive, too eager to show strength. Great, Jake said. He rubbed his eyes. A young ruler with something to prove. That's exactly what we need. Ben Holland walked into the room without knocking. He was the security chief, a big man with shoulders like a bull and hands that looked like they could crush stone. His head was shaved clean, and he had a thick beard that was more gray than black. Ben had been a Marine before joining the diplomatic corps, and he still moved like a soldier, always alert, always watching. The council chamber is ready, Ben said. We're scheduled to present in 30 minutes. Jake nodded. How's the security? Tight. Everyone gets scanned. No weapons allowed in the chamber except for ceremonial ones. The station security is professional. I trust them. But you don't like it, Jake said. Ben grinned. I never like it when I can't carry my gun, but I'll survive. The 3 of them made their way through the station's corridors. Harmony Prime was beautiful inside, with high ceilings and walls that seemed to glow with soft light. Plants from a dozen worlds grew in carefully maintained gardens along the walkways. Water flowed in decorative fountains that defied gravity, swirling up instead of down. The air smelled clean and fresh, with a hint of something floral that Jake couldn't identify. They passed other delegations on the way. The Silfuri merchants moved in groups, their bodies covered in fine scales that shimmered blue and green. They clicked and whistled to each other in their own language. The Drakmor warriors walked alone, or in pairs, tall and muscular, with skin like dark leather and eyes that glowed faintly yellow. They nodded to Jake as he passed, a gesture of respect between fighters. The council chamber was enormous. The ceiling stretched up so high that Jake couldn't see the top. It was lost in shadows and soft lights that looked like stars. The floor was polished stone that reflected everything like a dark mirror. Around the edges of the room stood pillars carved with symbols from every known language in the galaxy. In the center of the chamber was a circular platform with seats arranged in a ring. Each seat was designed for a different species, some small and delicate, others large and reinforced. Above each seat floated a holographic display showing the symbol of that species or empire. Jake and his team took their assigned seats. The human section was simple, just 3 comfortable chairs with a small table for documents. Other delegations were already present. The crystalline collective representatives sat perfectly still, their bodies made of some kind of living crystal that caught and refracted light. They had been spacefaring for thousands of years, maybe longer. No one knew for sure. The Viridian delegation sat directly across from the humans. Jake could see Queen Lyrazeth clearly from where he sat. She was smaller than he expected, maybe 5.5 feet tall. Her skin was pale blue, almost white, and her hair was long and silver. It flowed down her back like liquid metal. Her eyes were large and golden, with vertical pupils like a cat. She wore robes of deep purple with gold embroidery that must have taken years to create. On her head sat a crown of twisted metal that seemed to move and shift in the light. Next, to her sat an older Viridian, a male with darker blue skin and hair that had faded to gray. He wore similar robes but less ornate. This had to be High Chancellor Vorthain, the Queen's chief advisor. Jake had read about him in the briefing documents. He was old, experienced, and known for his hardline views about maintaining the Empire's dominance. A deep tone echoed through the chamber. It was time to begin. The council speaker stood at the center of the platform. He was a member of the Trilaxian species, short and round, with 4 arms and skin that changed colors as he spoke. His voice was translated into every language simultaneously by the station systems. We gathered today to discuss matters of trade and cooperation. The human delegation has requested access to mining rights in the outer territories. The Viridian Empire controls these territories. We are here to find a solution that benefits all parties. Jake stood when his turn came. He walked to the center of the platform and a holographic display appeared in the air around him. It showed star charts, mineral deposits, trade routes. "Thank you for this opportunity," Jake began. His voice was calm and steady. "Humanity is young in the galactic community. We know this. We've only had faster-than-light travel for 15 years. But in that time, we've proven ourselves to be reliable partners and honest traders." He gestured, and the display changed to show human colonies. "We're expanding into new systems. We're building homes for our people, farms to feed them, factories to supply them. To do this, we need certain rare minerals. These minerals exist in abundance in the unclaimed regions near Viridian space." Another gesture, another display. "We're not asking for charity, we're offering fair trade. We have technology that might interest the Viridian Empire, our medical advances, our agricultural techniques, our water purification systems. We're willing to share this knowledge in exchange for mining rights." Jake looked around the chamber, making eye contact with each delegation. "Humanity believes in mutual benefit. We don't want to take from anyone. We want to build relationships that make everyone stronger. That's why we're here today." He returned to his seat. The presentation had been simple and direct, exactly as planned. Lisa gave him a small nod of approval. Ben sat relaxed but alert, his eyes constantly scanning the room. The council speaker called on Queen Lyrazeth to respond. The young queen stood slowly, dramatically. She took her time walking to the center of the platform. Her robe swirled around her feet as she moved. When she reached the center, she stood silent for a long moment, looking at each delegation in turn. Finally, her golden eyes settled on Jake. "Humanity," she said. Her voice was high and clear, and it carried a note of amusement. "The newest children in the galaxy, how precious." Jake felt Lisa tense beside him. He kept his face neutral, waiting. "You speak of being reliable partners," the Queen continued. "But what have you done to prove this? You've existed in space for barely a decade. My empire has ruled the stars for 10,000 years. 10,000 years of tradition, of power, of wisdom." She turned to address the other delegations. "And now these newcomers want access to our territories. They want to mine our minerals. They offer us technology as if we need anything from them. It's almost charming in its naivety." The Queen's advisor, Vorthain, smiled from his seat. Other Viridian courtiers in the audience began to laugh softly, a sound like wind chimes. "Look at them," Queen Lyrazeth said, gesturing toward the human delegation. "They sit there in their simple uniforms thinking they can negotiate with empires. They're like children who have learned to walk and now believe they can run." Jake's jaw tightened slightly, but he didn't move. Lisa had gone very still. Ben's relaxed posture had changed subtly. He was ready to move if needed. The Queen walked closer to the human section. her golden eyes fixed on Jake. "You speak of mutual benefit, Commander Morrison. But what benefit could we possibly gain from dealing with primitives? What could you offer that we don't already have? You should be grateful that we even acknowledge your existence." She paused and her voice grew colder. "Perhaps instead of negotiating, you should simply ask nicely. Perhaps you should kneel and request our generosity. That would be more appropriate for beings of your limited stature." The chamber had gone completely silent. Even the Viridian courtiers had stopped laughing. This had gone beyond normal diplomatic posturing. This was a direct, personal insult. Jake walked through the corridors of Harmony Prime with steady steps. His face remained calm, but inside his mind was working fast. Behind him, he could hear Lisa and Ben keeping pace. They didn't speak. They knew him well enough to stay quiet when he was thinking. They reached their quarters within minutes. As soon as the door closed behind them, Lisa turned to Jake. "We need to talk about what just happened," she said. Her voice was urgent but controlled. "We can still salvage this. We can file a formal complaint with the council. We can request a new mediator. We can—" "No," Jake said quietly. He walked to his desk and pulled up a comm channel. "Get me Captain Rodriguez on the Perseverance." "Jake, wait," Lisa said. "You're letting emotion make this decision. I understand you're angry." What she said was completely out of line. "But we need those minerals. Our colonies depend on it. We can't just walk away." Ben stood by the door, arms crossed. He hadn't said anything yet, but he was listening carefully. "I'm not angry," Jake said. He was still waiting for the comm connection. "I'm done." "Done? What does that mean?" The screen on Jake's desk flickered to life. Captain Danny Rodriguez appeared, a man in his 50s with a weathered face and close-cropped black hair going gray. He commanded the UHSV Perseverance, the ship that had brought the diplomatic team to Harmony Prime. "Commander Morrison," Rodriguez said, "I wasn't expecting to hear from you for another few hours. How did the meeting go?" "It's over, Captain. Prepare the ship for immediate departure. We're leaving within the hour." Rodriguez raised his eyebrows but didn't question the order. "Understood, sir. We'll be ready." Jake ended the call and turned to face Lisa and Ben. "Pack your things. We're going home." Lisa shook her head. "You need to explain this to me. The mission was to secure mining rights. We haven't done that. We're just giving up." "We're not giving up," Jake said. He sat down and started typing on his tablet. "We're making a choice." "What choice?" Jake looked up at her. His blue eyes were clear and calm. "The choice to not do business with people who treat us like garbage. The choice to keep our dignity intact. The choice to show the galaxy what humans value." "Dignity doesn't mine minerals," Lisa said. "Dignity doesn't build colonies. We need practical solutions, not moral victories." "You think this is about morals?" Jake asked. He stood and walked to the window. Outside, ships moved through space, coming and going from the station. "This is about strategy. Long-term strategy." Ben finally spoke. His voice was deep and rough. "I'm listening." Jake turned to face them both. "What happens if we stay? If we swallow the insult and keep negotiating? We might get a deal, maybe, but it will be on her terms. She'll know she can treat us however she wants because we need something from her. Every future negotiation, every future interaction will start from that position of weakness." "And if we leave?" Lisa asked. "If we leave, we send a message, not just to the Viridian Empire, but to every species watching. We show them that humans have limits, that we won't accept disrespect no matter what it costs us, that we value how we're treated as much as what we gain." Lisa was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. "You're betting that walking away makes us look strong, not weak." "I'm betting that respect is worth more than minerals," Jake said. "And I'm betting that we're not the only species in the galaxy who thinks so." Ben nodded slowly. "The Drakmor. They care about honor above everything. They were watching in that chamber. They saw what happened." "So did the Crystalline Collective," Jake added. "They've seen empires rise and fall for thousands of years. They know the difference between true strength and empty posturing." Lisa looked down at her tablet. She was silent for a long moment. Then she let out a long breath. This could end your career. If Earth Command disagrees with this decision, they could remove you from diplomatic service. I know. You're risking everything on a principle. I know that too. Lisa looked at him, studying his face. Then she nodded. All right. I'll start the departure paperwork. But you need to send a message to Earth Command explaining what happened and why we're leaving. They need to hear it from you first. Already working on it, Jake said, holding up his tablet. The next hour was busy. They packed their belongings, filed the necessary departure forms, and prepared to leave. Word had already spread through the station about what happened in the council chamber. As Jake walked through the corridors toward the docking bay, other delegations watched him. Some looked confused, others looked interested. A Drakmor warrior stepped into Jake's path. He was tall, over 7 feet, with dark skin marked with ritual scars. His eyes glowed with that characteristic yellow light. He wore simple armor made of some kind of dark metal. Commander Morrison, the Drakmor said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. I am War Chief Krathzon. I witnessed what happened in the chamber. Jake stopped. War Chief, you were insulted. You did not respond with violence or words. You simply left. This shows great control. Thank you. In my culture, we value honor above all else. What the young queen did was without honor. She humiliated a guest at a diplomatic gathering. This is shameful behavior. Jake nodded but said nothing. The war chief continued. I wish to speak with you again, not now, but soon. There are matters we might discuss, matters of mutual interest. I would welcome such a discussion, Jake said. Krathzon placed his fist over his chest in what seemed to be a gesture of respect. Then he stepped aside and let Jake pass. At the docking bay, the Perseverance waited. It was a good ship, built for long-range missions. It wasn't a warship, but it wasn't defenseless either. The hull was a dark gray that seemed to absorb light. The ship's name was painted on the side in white letters 10 feet tall. Captain Rodriguez met them at the airlock. We're ready to depart, Commander. All systems are green. I've filed our flight plan with Station Control. Any problems? Jake asked. Station Control seemed confused. They asked 3 times if we were sure about leaving early. I told them we were. Good. They boarded the ship and made their way to the bridge. The Perseverance had a crew of 43 people, most of them military with a few civilians for specialized tasks. Everyone had heard about what happened by now. They looked at Jake with curiosity and something that might have been respect. The bridge was efficient and clean. Stations for navigation, weapons, communications, and engineering were arranged in a semicircle facing the main view screen. Captain Rodriguez took his seat in the command chair. Jake stood next to him with Lisa and Ben nearby. Take us out, Captain, Jake said. Aye, sir. Helm, release docking clamps. Thrusters to station keeping. The ship shuddered slightly as it disconnected from the station. Through the view screen, Jake watched as Harmony Prime slowly fell away. The beautiful flower-like structure grew smaller and smaller. We're clear of the station, Captain, the helmsman reported. Ready to engage main engines. Set course for Earth. Maximum sustainable speed. Course laid in, sir. Engage. The stars stretched into lines as the Perseverance accelerated. Then they vanished entirely as the ship entered faster than light travel. The view screen showed the strange, swirling colors of FTL space, beautiful and unsettling at the same time. Jake stood on the bridge for a few more minutes, then turned to leave. I'll be in my quarters. Let me know if anything comes up. Yes, sir, Rodriguez said. Then he added quietly, For what it's worth, Commander, I think you did the right thing. Jake nodded and left the bridge. In his quarters, he sat down at his desk and pulled up the message he had been composing for Earth Command. It needed to be perfect. He needed to explain not just what happened, but why he made the choice he did. He needed to make them understand. He wrote for an hour, deleting and rewriting sentences, making sure every word was right. When he finished, he read it through one last time. To Admiral Patricia Hayes, Earth Command from Commander Jake Morrison, Diplomatic Corps subject, Harmony Prime Mission Report, Admiral. The trade negotiations with the Viridian Empire have concluded unsuccessfully. I am returning to Earth with my team. I take full responsibility for the outcome. During the council session, Queen Lyra Seth of the Viridian Empire made statements that were not merely diplomatically harsh, but personally insulting to the entire human delegation. She suggested that humans were inferior beings who should kneel and beg for consideration rather than negotiate as equals. I chose to terminate negotiations and depart the station. This was not an emotional decision. It was a strategic one. Humanity is new to galactic politics. Every action we take now establishes precedents that will affect us for generations. If we accept being treated as lesser beings when we need something, we signal to the galaxy that we can be pushed around. This will weaken our position in all future negotiations. By walking away, we demonstrate that humans have principles that are not negotiable. We show that we value dignity and respect as much as material gain. This may seem costly in the short term, but I believe it will serve us better in the long run. I understand this decision may not align with mission objectives as originally stated. If you feel my judgment was flawed, I will accept any consequences, but I stand by the choice I made. The minerals we sought exist in other regions. I recommend we pursue alternative sources and alternative partners. The galaxy is large. The news spread faster than anyone expected. Within hours of the Perseverance's departure from Harmony Prime, every major species in the galaxy knew what happened. Diplomatic channels buzzed with reports. Private messages flew between embassies. News networks across 1,000 worlds discussed the incident. On the crystalline homeworld of Luminos, the Council of Elders gathered in their great hall. The hall was made entirely of living crystal that pulsed with soft light. The Elders themselves were massive beings, each one weighing several tons, their crystalline bodies shaped by centuries of slow growth. Elder Sarnthos, the oldest among them, spoke first. His voice resonated through the crystal structure of the hall, making the walls sing. The humans walked away. Indeed, said Elder Kiranel. Young Queen Lyrazeth insulted their commander publicly, and he responded with silence and departure. Interesting, Sarnthos said. Most species would have responded with anger or submission. The humans did neither. We have observed humanity for their entire spacefaring history, said Elder Venthar. 15 years is nothing to us, but in that short time, they have shown remarkable qualities. They are creative, adaptable, and surprisingly resilient. And proud, Kiranel added. This incident reveals something important about their nature. They value dignity highly, perhaps too highly for their own good. Or perhaps, Saranthos said thoughtfully, they understand something that many younger species have forgotten. That respect once lost is nearly impossible to regain. The commander made a choice that will define how others see humanity for years to come. Should we respond? Venthar asked. Sarnthos considered. The Crystalline Collective rarely intervened in galactic politics directly. They were observers, teachers, guides, but occasionally when they saw potential for wisdom, they offered support. Send a message to Earth, Sarnthos finally said. Express our respect for Commander Morrison's restraint and dignity. Suggest that we would be interested in future discussions about mutual cooperation. The other elders will wonder why we show such interest in a minor incident, Kiranel said. Let them wonder. The humans are young, but they show promise. We should encourage that promise. Meanwhile, on the Drakmor battlecruiser Thunder of War, War Chief Krathzon sat in his private quarters studying star charts. His second-in-command, Sub-Chief Vexkar, entered after the ritual knock. You wish to see me, War Chief? I did. Krathzon gestured to the star charts. What do you know about these systems here? Beyond Viridian space? Vexkar looked at the charts. Unclaimed territory. No major mineral deposits according to Viridian surveys. Harsh conditions. Not worth the effort to colonize. That's what the Viridian reports say. But I wonder if those reports are complete. Why do you question them? Krathzon stood and walked to the window. His ship hung in orbit around a dead moon, far from any major trade routes, because the Viridians lie when it suits them, because they want to control all valuable territory, because they inflate the value of what they have and deflate the value of what they don't claim. This is about the humans, Vexkar said. It wasn't a question. Yes. You were impressed by their commander. Krathzon turned to face his second. I was impressed by his honor. The Queen insulted him in front of the entire council. He could have responded with anger, which would have made him look weak. He could have begged, which would have made him look pathetic. Instead, he simply left. He removed himself from a situation where his honor was not respected. A proper response, Ivexcar agreed. The humans need minerals for their colonies. The Viridians have those minerals. But there might be other sources. If we could help the humans find those sources, we would gain valuable allies. Vexcar's eyes glowed brighter, a sign of interest. The Drakmor and humanity would make strong partners. Both species value honor and direct action. Exactly. Send a message to Commander Morrison. Tell him I wish to meet with him personally. Tell him I may have information about alternative mineral sources. The clan leaders will need to approve this. Let me worry about the clan leaders. Just send the message. On a silvery trade vessel called the Golden Prophet, 3 merchant captains sat around a table covered with holographic displays. The silvery were natural traders, their entire culture built around commerce and profit. They had been considering a major trade agreement with the Viridian Empire for months. Now they were reconsidering. Captain Zixara, the eldest of the 3, manipulated the holograms with her clawed hands. The incident at Harmony Prime changes our calculations. How so? Asked Captain Nimbel. The humans didn't get what they wanted. That makes them weak negotiating partners. No, said Captain Thelvis. It makes them principled partners. There's a difference. Explain, Zixara said. Thelvis pulled up financial records. We've done business with the Viridians for 70 years. In that time, they have renegotiated contracts 43 times, always in their favor. They use threats, manipulation, and political pressure to squeeze extra profit from every deal. That's just good business, Nimbel said. No, it's short-term thinking. It makes other species reluctant to work with them. Now look at the human trade record. Thelvis changed the display. 15 years of space trade. Not a single breach of contract. Not a single renegotiation that disadvantaged their partners. They pay on time, deliver what they promise, and treat their partners fairly. They're young, Nimbel argued. They haven't learned to maximize profit yet. Or, Zixara said slowly, they've learned something more valuable. They've learned that reputation is worth more than short-term gain. The incident at Harmony Prime supports this, Thelvis added. They needed those minerals badly. Walking away cost them. But they did it anyway because they valued being treated with respect. That kind of consistency is rare. Zixara made a decision. Cancel the Viridian negotiations. Contact the Human Diplomatic Corps. Let's see if we can arrange a meeting. The Viridians will be angry, Nimbel warned. The Viridians are always angry about something. I would rather do business with partners who value honor than partners who value only dominance. Back on Earth, in the sprawling complex of Earth Command headquarters, Admiral Patricia Hayes read Commander Morrison's message for the 3rd time. Her office was simple and functional, with windows that looked out over the Atlantic Ocean. The walls were covered with star charts and photos from her own long career in space. She was 62 years old, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too many battles. She had been in command of Earth's diplomatic and military space operations for 8 years. She had fought in the colony wars, negotiated with alien species, and made the hard decisions that came with leadership. Her assistant, Colonel Greg Palmer, stood waiting for her response. Well, Palmer asked, what do you think? I think, Hayes said slowly, that Morrison just gambled with humanity's future. He should be court-martialed, Palmer said. He had clear orders to secure those mining rights. He failed. Hayes shook her head. It's not that simple, Greg. Read this part again. She pointed to a section of the message. He's not wrong about precedence. Every action we take now will be remembered. If we establish ourselves as a species that accepts insults when we need something, every future negotiation starts from weakness. So you agree with him? I didn't say that. I said he's not wrong. But he might have cost us dearly. Those colonies need those minerals. We have maybe 6 months before we start seeing serious supply problems. So what do? Hayes was quiet for a moment. Then she started typing. We support him. Publicly. We send a message to all diplomatic channels saying that Earth Command stands behind Commander Morrison's decision. We state clearly that while we seek peaceful and profitable relationships with all species, we will not tolerate disrespect. That's a strong position. It's the only position. Morrison made his choice. Now we have to back it up or undermine our own diplomatic corps. And honestly, Greg, I think he made the right choice. It's going to cause us problems, but it's the right choice. What about the minerals? We'll find another source. The galaxy is a big place. The message from Earth Command went out within the hour. It was brief and clear. Earth supported Commander Morrison. Humanity expected to be treated with respect in all diplomatic interactions. Any species that wished to work with humanity would need to treat them as equals. The message sent its own ripples through the galaxy. Some species respected it. Others saw it as arrogance from a young race, but everyone paid attention. On Harmony Prime, Queen Lyraseth sat in her private chambers aboard her ship, which was still docked at the station. High Chancellor Vorthane stood before her, looking pleased with himself. "You see, Your Majesty," he said, "the humans have revealed their true nature. They are weak and emotional. They ran away rather than negotiate like adults. The Queen wasn't so sure. They have support from their government." Earth Command backed Morrison's decision. Empty words. They need those minerals. They will come back eventually, and when they do, they will accept any terms we offer. Perhaps. But the Queen felt uneasy. She replayed the moment in her mind. The way Morrison had looked at her. No anger in his eyes. No fear, just disappointment. And then he simply turned and left. She had expected him to argue or plead. She had been ready for that. But 6 months passed. The Perseverance had returned to Earth. Commander Jake Morrison delivered his full report to Admiral Hayes and the Diplomatic Committee. There were questions, debates, and long discussions about what his decision meant for humanity's future. In the end, the committee agreed with Hayes. Morrison had acted correctly. He was promoted to Director of Galactic Relations, putting him in charge of all of humanity's diplomatic efforts. Lisa Carter became his Deputy Director. Ben Holland remained as Chief of Security, though now he managed a larger team. Together, they worked to build new relationships across the galaxy. The Drakmor were the first to respond to humanity's new direction. War Chief Krathzone had been true to his word. He met with Jake on a neutral station and shared information about mineral-rich systems beyond Viridian space. Systems that the Viridians had surveyed but dismissed as worthless. They lied in their reports, Krathzone explained, his yellow eyes glowing in the dim conference room. They always do. They want others to think they control all valuable resources. Jake studied the star charts. If these deposits are real, they could supply our colonies for decades. They are real. My people have surveyed them secretly. We do not need these minerals ourselves, but we knew their value. Why help us? Krathzone placed his fist over his chest. Because you showed honor when dishonored. Because you walked away rather than submit to humiliation. In Drakmor culture, this is the mark of a true warrior. Not someone who fights, but someone who knows when fighting would diminish them. I appreciate that. We ask for little in return. Mining rights in 2 of the systems for our own use, and a friendship between our peoples. Done, Jake said, offering his hand. Krathzone gripped it, careful not to crush human bones with his immense strength. The Silphery merchants also reached out. They offered to transport human equipment and personnel to the new mining sites in exchange for favorable trade terms. The negotiations were fair and straightforward. The Silphery had studied humanity's trade history and liked what they saw. We value partners who keep their word, Captain Zixara told Jake during their meeting. The Viridians make promises but change terms whenever it suits them. You humans seem different. We try to be, Jake said. That is good for business. We can work together well, I think. Even the Crystalline Collective sent a formal message of goodwill. They offered to share some of their ancient knowledge about mineral processing, techniques that could make human mining operations 3 times more efficient. Humanity's colonies began receiving supplies from the new mining operations. The crisis that Admiral Hayes had worried about never materialized. In fact, the new sources were better than the Viridian territories would have been. But for the Viridian Empire, things were different. Queen Lyraseth sat in her throne room on the imperial homeworld. The room was vast and beautiful, with walls of polished stone that reflected light like mirrors. Tall windows looked out over the capital city, where millions of Viridians lived and worked. The throne itself was carved from a single piece of rare crystal that had taken artisans 10 years to shape. High Chancellor Vorthine stood before her, and for once he did not look pleased. Your Majesty, I must report on the state of our trade relationships. Proceed. The Silfari have reduced their contracts with us by 30%. They claim it's due to market fluctuations, but our intelligence suggests they are now working with the humans. The Queen's golden eyes narrowed. Continue. The Drakmor have declined all cultural exchange programs. They have also stopped purchasing our weapons and armor. Again, they work with the humans now. And the others? The pattern continues. Smaller species that once sought our favor now seek human partnerships. The humans are sharing technology freely, treating their partners as equals and building a network of allies. While we lose partners, the Queen said quietly, it is a temporary setback, Your Majesty. Once the humans overextend themselves, once they make mistakes, others will remember the strength of the Viridian Empire. But the Queen wasn't listening to him anymore. She was thinking about that day at Harmony Prime, about Commander Morrison's eyes, about his silence, about the way he simply left. She had thought she was showing strength. She had thought she was putting the humans in their place. Instead, she had pushed them to build their own place. And they were doing it better than she ever expected. Leave me, she said to Vorthane. Your Majesty, we should discuss. Leave now. Vorthane bowed and left, but she could see the displeasure in his movement. Good. She was tired of his advice. It was his counsel that had led her to act so foolishly at the summit. A message alert appeared on the holographic display near her throne. She opened it with a gesture, expecting more bad news about trade relationships. Instead, it was from her chief medical officer, Dr. Selvane. The message was marked urgent. Your Majesty, we have a medical emergency in the outer colonies. A disease is spreading rapidly through the settlements on Vex Prime, Kolar 4, and Harbinger Station. We do not recognize the pathogen. Our standard treatments are ineffective. Request immediate assistance from the Imperial Medical Corps. The Queen felt ice in her stomach. She opened a communication channel. Dr. Selvane, this is the Queen. What are we dealing with? The doctor appeared on screen. She looked tired, her silver hair disheveled. Behind her, the Queen could see medical personnel rushing back and forth. Your Majesty, we're calling it the wasting sickness. It starts with fatigue and fever, then progresses to organ failure. We've had 17 deaths so far and hundreds are infected. How did it start? We don't know. It appeared simultaneously in all 3 locations. That suggests either a natural outbreak of something we've never encountered or biological warfare. Biological warfare? Who would attack us? We have no evidence of an attack, Your Majesty. But the simultaneous appearance is suspicious. More importantly, we need help. This disease is like nothing in our medical databases. What do you need? Access to the Galactic Medical Research Network. We need to consult with xenobiologists from other species. Someone might have seen something similar. Do it. Whatever resources you need, you have them. The Queen ended the call and sat back in her throne. A disease. A mysterious disease attacking her people. This was exactly what she didn't need right now. Over the next 3 weeks, the situation grew worse. The wasting sickness spread to more colonies. The death toll climbed to over 100. Dr. Selvane and her team worked around the clock but made little progress. Then Dr. Selvane sent another message. Your Majesty, I have found something. There are research papers by a human scientist, Dr. Amy Patterson. She specializes in cross-species pathogens. Her work on Martian colony fever saved thousands of human lives 5 years ago. The symptoms she described in her research are remarkably similar to what we're seeing. Contact her immediately. I have tried. Your Majesty, Dr. Patterson is willing to help, but she needs official approval from human authorities, and the human authorities are hesitant. The Queen understood immediately. The humans remembered what happened at Harmony Prime. They remembered how she had treated their commander. She called an emergency meeting of her advisors. Vorthane, Dr. Selvane, the military commanders, and the chief administrators all gathered in the council chamber. The situation is clear, the Queen said. We need human medical expertise. But the humans will not help us without conditions. What conditions? Asked General Kexthor, the military commander. I don't know yet, but I can guess, Vorthane spoke up. Your Majesty, we cannot show weakness by begging the humans for help. It would undermine everything we've built. Perhaps if we offered them money or trade concessions. No, the Queen interrupted. Money won't work. Not with them. Then what will? The Queen stood and walked to the window. Outside, the sun was setting over the capital city. Beautiful and peaceful, but in the outer colonies, people were dying. She made her decision. I will contact Director Morrison directly. I will ask for help. Your Majesty, Forthane said urgently. If you contact him personally, it suggests we are desperate. We are desperate, Chancellor. People are dying. But if word spreads that we needed the humans, that we had to ask them for help, then let it spread. The Queen's voice was sharp. I made a mistake at Harmony Prime. I humiliated someone who deserved respect. Now my people are dying, and my pride is stopping me from saving them. No more. My pride is not worth a single Viridian life. She turned to face Forthane. You advised me to show strength through dominance. You told me to make others bow. But I see now that you were wrong. True strength is admitting when you need help. True power is being able to apologize. Forthane looked shocked. He had never heard the Queen speak to him this way. The Queen turned to Dr. Selvane. Draft a formal request for medical assistance. Send it to Director Morrison at Earth Command. Be clear about the situation. Tell him we need Dr. Patterson's expertise. Yes, Your Majesty. And prepare another message. A personal one. From me to Director Morrison. The Queen spent an hour writing the message. She deleted and rewrote it many times. Finally, she had something that felt honest. Director Morrison, I am writing to request medical assistance for my people. A disease is spreading through our outer colonies, and we do not have the expertise to stop it. We believe Dr. Amy Patterson, The UHSV Perseverance entered Viridian space 3 days later. Captain Rodriguez kept the ship at standard approach speed, broadcasting their diplomatic credentials continuously. This was enemy territory in all but name. The Viridian military tracked their every movement. Jake stood on the bridge, watching the homeworld grow larger on the view screen. It was a beautiful planet, mostly blue and green with white clouds swirling across the surface. 3 moons orbited in perfect synchronization. The capital city was visible as a bright spot on the largest continent, a sprawl of gleaming towers and elegant structures. They're giving us a flight path to the Imperial landing platform, the communications officer reported. Military escort assigned. 2 cruisers will guide us in. Acknowledge and follow their instructions, Rodriguez said. He glanced at Jake. Are you sure about this, Director? No, Jake admitted. But it's the right thing to do. In the medical bay, Dr. Amy Patterson was preparing her equipment. She was 40 years old with short brown hair and sharp green eyes. She wore a practical jumpsuit with a white coat over it. Equipment cases were stacked around her. Lisa Carter found her there, checking supplies. Dr. Patterson, we'll be landing in 20 minutes. Good. The sooner I can get to work, the better. Amy didn't look up from her checklist. Every day we delay, more people die. The director wanted me to remind you that you're here as an observer until after his meeting with the Queen. Political protocols require— I know the protocols, Amy interrupted. And I think they're stupid. People are dying and we're playing diplomatic games. I agree with you, Lisa said quietly. But Director Morrison is trying to establish something bigger than just treating this disease. He's trying to change the entire relationship between our species. Amy finally looked up. And if the Queen refuses his terms? If she won't give him what he wants? Then we help anyway. That's what Jake told me in private. This isn't about leverage or politics. It's about doing the right thing. But the Queen needs to understand that respect matters. Amy studied Lisa's face. Then she nodded. All right. I'll wait. But not long. The Perseverance landed on the Imperial platform with barely a shudder. Through the windows, they could see Viridian military personnel forming up in precise lines, honor guards with ceremonial weapons, officials in formal robes. And standing at the front alone was Queen Lyrazeth. She wore simple robes of deep blue, without any of the elaborate decoration from their first meeting. Her silver hair was pulled back in a practical style. Her golden eyes watched the ship with an expression Jake couldn't read from this distance. She came herself, Ben said. He stood next to Jake, wearing his formal security uniform. No advisors. No guard standing next to her. She's making a statement, Jake said. Let's hope it's a good one. Jake, Lisa, and Ben walked down the landing ramp. The Viridian air was crisp and cool, with a faint scent of something like cinnamon. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth's, making Jake feel almost buoyant. The honor guard stood at attention as they approached. Not hostile, but watchful. Jake walked straight toward the Queen. When he was 10 feet away, he stopped. For a long moment they looked at each other. Her golden eyes met his blue ones. 6 months had passed since Harmony Prime. 6 months since he had turned and walked away. Then Queen Lyrazeth did something unexpected. She bowed. Not a small nod of the head, but a deep, formal bow that bent her nearly in half. When she straightened, she spoke clearly enough for everyone to hear. "Director Morrison, I welcome you to the Viridian homeworld. Thank you for coming." Jake bowed in return, not as deeply but respectfully. "Your Majesty, thank you for inviting us. I've arranged a private meeting room. Just the two of us, if you are comfortable with that." "I am." The Queen led him through the palace. It was as beautiful inside as it had looked from space. High ceilings, elegant artwork, gardens that grew in impossible ways. But Jake barely noticed. He was focused on the woman walking ahead of him. She was smaller than he remembered. Younger. 6 months ago, she had seemed powerful and intimidating on her throne. Now she just seemed like a person carrying a heavy burden. They entered a small conference room. It was simple and plain compared to the rest of the palace. Just a table, 2 chairs, and a window looking out over the city. The Queen gestured to a chair. "Please sit." They sat across from each other. For a moment, neither spoke. Finally, the Queen broke the silence. "I don't know how to begin." "Begin with the truth," Jake said. She nodded. "The truth. The truth is that I was frightened at Harmony Prime. I was surrounded by older, more experienced rulers, leaders of empires that have existed for thousands of years. And there I was, 26 years old, trying to prove I deserved to sit among them. So you decided to prove it by putting me down." "Yes. I thought that showing dominance would make me look strong. I thought if I could make you seem small, I would seem large." She looked down at her hands. "I was wrong." "I see that now. What changed your mind?" "Many things. The Crystalline Elders sent me a message. They explained that true power doesn't require the humiliation of others. Then I saw how other species responded. They didn't respect me more for what I did. They respected me less. And now you need help," Jake said. "Yes. My people are dying and I don't have the tools to save them. Dr. Patterson does." She looked up at him. "I am here to apologize. Not because I need something from you, but because I was wrong. What I said to you at Harmony Prime was cruel and unfair. You came seeking partnership and I treated you with contempt. I am sorry." Jake studied her face. He saw no deception there, just regret and exhaustion. "I accept your apology," he said. "But I need you to understand something. When I walked away at Harmony Prime, it wasn't because I was angry. It was because humans have learned something through our long history. We've learned that dignity is not negotiable, that how we're treated matters as much as what we gain. I understand that now. Do you? Because this isn't just about you and me. This is about how the Viridian Empire treats other species going forward. If we help you now, and then 6 months from now you're back to demanding others bow before you, we'll have accomplished nothing." The Queen was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You want assurances. You want promises that will change. I want to know that this moment matters, that it means something. It does. It means everything to me." She stood and walked to the window. "I have been thinking a lot about my mother. She ruled for 40 years. She was respected across the galaxy. Not because she forced others to bow, but because she lifted them up. She built alliances through respect and mutual benefit. What happened to her?" Jake asked. "She died in an accident. Or so they said. I have always suspected that High Chancellor Vorthine had something to do with it, but I could never prove it. After she died, he became my chief advisor. He pushed me toward aggressive policies, toward showing strength through dominance. And you listened. I was young and frightened. I wanted to believe I could be strong like my mother. But Vorthine's version of strength was hollow. It made people fear me, not respect me." She turned to face Jake. "This morning I dismissed High Chancellor Vorthine from his position. He is no longer my advisor. I am surrounding myself with people who believe in partnership, not domination." Jake stood and walked to join her at the window. "That's a good first step. There will be more steps. I want to formally apologize to the Galactic Council for my behavior. I want to open real negotiations with humanity, not as superior to inferior, but as equals. I want to build the kind of alliances my mother would have been proud of. That's not easy. Changing the direction of an entire empire. No, but it's necessary." She looked at him. "Will you help me? Not just with the disease, but with this, with building a better relationship between our peoples?" Jake considered. He thought about all the history between their species. The insults, the conflict, the 6 months of silence. But he also thought about what Admiral Hayes had told him before he left Earth. The goal isn't revenge. It's progress. If she's genuinely willing to change, we need to meet her halfway. Yes, Jake said. We'll help. The Queen's tension visibly released. Thank you. Your Dr. Patterson can begin immediately. She's already unpacking her equipment. But there's one more thing. What? You need to come with me to meet her. And you need to personally thank her for coming. Not as a queen to a subject, but as one person to another. She's risking her life coming here to help your people. That deserves acknowledgement, the Queen nodded. Of course. I would be honored to meet her. They returned to the landing platform together. Dr. Patterson was directing the unloading of medical equipment, barking orders at the Viridian workers helping her. She looked up as Jake and the Queen approached. Dr. Patterson, Jake said, this is Queen Lyrazeth. Amy wiped her hands on her coat and stepped forward. She didn't bow. She just extended her hand. Your Majesty, the Queen took her hand and shook it. Dr. Patterson, thank you for coming. Thank you for being willing to help my people. It's what I do, Amy said simply. Now can someone take me to the patients? I need to see the symptoms firsthand before I can develop a treatment. I'll take you myself, the Queen said. My ship is ready to transport us to the outer colonies. Over the next 2 weeks, Dr. Patterson worked around the clock. The